Okay, we're going to show you some flowers, I guess.
Hi everyone, Rebecca here. We have a very special episode planned for you today that Jade and I have been working on for a while. We just love the flowers that erupt everywhere all over the tundra in the spring and summer. So we have been collecting clips of them for the last couple of months, and we have put them all together in a compilation so that you can see some of our favorite flowers. There are just so many. So we have done our best with identification over the course of this. We cannot vouch for them all. The family names are probably all, or the genus names are probably correct for all of them, but the species names, I'm not sure. We did our best, so be patient with us. And at the end, I'll have the resources that we used, the field guides and stuff, so that if you want to check them out yourself, you can. All right, please enjoy.
Hello, this purple flower is called the Lapland rosebay, or Rhododendron laponicum if you're a botanist. These bad boys grow in Asia, in Scandinavia somewhere, and in northern North America, mostly in Canada. They're actually kind of hard to pluck from the ground. Their buds are these orange artichoke-looking things. That's how I'm going to say it. And they have these sticky outy bits. These are, in fact, a relative of the rhododendron, and it made us so happy to find these growing up here because we really miss the azaleas down south sometimes. You see these purple bits in the background? This is purple saxifrage. Inuktitut is aupilat dungwat. Or, if you're a botanist, maybe you'd call it Saxifraga oppositifolia. These grow in Greenland and in the UK, also in Arctic regions of Canada. They're also the official flower of Nunavut and one of the first flowers to appear after the snow melts. These are also known as French knot moss. These are actually edible, and they actually taste bitter at the start, but if you keep chewing, they're pretty sweet. If you're on the tundra or in the UK or in Greenland and you stop and you want to get a snack, might grab some of these flowers, and that's purple saxifrage for you. Hello, and it's another purple Arctic flower. This is the alpine milk vetch, or Astragalus alpinus. These grow next to ponds and on hills up to 2,000 meters. And these are these purple flowers that grow in clumps. The milk vetch have been having an incredible year here in Nunavut. They're just everywhere, and they love to be in the same kind of soil as the mountain avens, or mulligat, that we'll talk about in a little bit. They just grow, and they could be lots of different colors of purple. Cool or warm purple, and even white, like a very pale purple, and yellow. There aren't quite as many yellow ones here, but there are some in our yard. This is the alpine black bearberry, or Arctostaphylos alpinus. These are not currently growing berries right now, but you can see the flowers. They're these light green fungus shapes, as my sister calls them. But I think they're more bell shapes, like a bluebell. And the actual berries are very bitter, and you're not supposed to eat them. They're for the animals, so try to stay out of their way. That's alpine black bearberries. Hello, this here is the woolly lousewort, or Pedicularis lanata. In Inuktitut, it is Ugjungnok. These are also known as hairy horsewort. These grow in North America. They look like these tall, fuzzy, gray stalks with pink flowers sprouting out of them. And they grow on the tundra, and they're very rare nowadays. So make sure to take a pic if you see one. These flower heads kind of stand out on their own. They sort of poke up from the tundra, and they're very noticeable. And this here is what they look like after they have gone to seed. There are 3 different varieties of woolly lousewort, and we just took our best guess as to which subspecies this one is. These are bog bilberry flowers, or Vacunimum ligosinum. They're commonly known as blueberries. In Inuktitut, the berries are called Gigutangilknight. And they're very delicious, and that's bog bilberries. So there was a little bit of conflict in our field guides about identifying these lovely flowers. The Arctic Guide Wildlife of the Far North by Sharon Chester identifies 2 different variants of this flower. This one she called the Arctic Dryad, and the other one she called the 8-petal dryad or mountain avon. And those had quite different leaves, even though their flowers look almost identical. The other book that we have, Common Plants of Nunavut, identifies these as mountain avens. Either way, both of them use the scientific name Dryas integrifolia, and the Inuktitut name is Malikat, and it's called that, at least in some regions, because of the Inuktitut root word, which means to follow, because their little faces follow the sun across the sky. In the fall, they get these cool twisted seed heads that open out into flowers, and there have just been absolute fields of these this year in Rankin Inlet. It's been such a joy to watch them. These are Arctic bell heather, or white heather. Their scientific name is Cassiope tetragona, and they have a couple of Inuktitut names. The one I've heard most often is Kliukdot. They are a heather plant, just like you'd find in Scotland, but white instead of purple. And they're very important to the Inuit as a fuel source. It's still a favorite activity to go out on the land and to build a fire out of old dry heather plants to make tea. They like to grow in the same microbiome and just about the same time as the Lapland rosebay. And the beginning of the video. Welcome back. These white flowers are the white Arctic whitlowgrass, or Draba fladnazensis. These are also known as the Austrian Draba. These grow in rocky and open areas, as you see here. They are characterized by their tall stems and their white clumps of flowers. These are cool. These sweet little purple flowers tend to grow on their own in these tiny clumps in rocky or grassy areas, and maybe that's why they're called wallflowers. Their scientific name is Erismum palasi, and their Inuktitut name is Nunavut. But they're just so cute, it's hard not to stop and give them a little love.
This is what we call our willow forest. These are Arctic willows that have grown very tall in this sheltered spot. They've all got their catkins up.
There are so many kinds of ground creeping willows in the Arctic. It would be difficult to find and report them all. We're pretty sure these are gray leaf willows because they are one kind that tends to grow pretty tall. And these are over 4 feet in some places from the sheltered location they're in. This is the Arctic willow, or Salix arctica, and in Inuktitut it's okojite or okoyite. And this one grows right along the ground like many of them do. The patterns on this rock are caused by ring lichen, which is one of many different kinds of lichen that grow prolifically on all the rocks in the region. We took a trip to the beach. I say beach, but it's a little sandy lake. It's in the Teotihuacan Park nearby, and there are so many flowers that grow really well in sandy soil or in really rocky roadside terrain that many of them thrive in all different kinds of environments. We had trouble identifying these yellow flowers. My mom and I don't totally agree on what they are, but my mom's closest guess was the pretty cinquefoil. Scientific name Potentilla pulchella. They seem to really thrive in this sandy environment. We haven't seen them anywhere else so far, at least not that we noticed, so this might be their favorite kind of spot.
Okay, I'm going to linger on this one for a minute because this is my absolute most favorite Arctic flower. This is the Arctic thrift, also known as the sea pink. Scientific name Armeria scabra, but we have always called it by its Inuktitut name as we learned it from a children's book, which is Aasak. It's this beautiful flower that has these dried sort of petal casings that last a really long time. The actual pink flowers inside last a very short time before just sort of fading, but you can keep the little dried papery flower tops for a really long time. There's just something really unique and hardy about them, and you don't find them absolutely everywhere. They're just that little bit rare and special. So I always get excited when I find Arctic thrift, and my kids have a tendency to bring some to me. It's very sweet.
These are moss campion, or Inuktitut name Eilite Silene acaulis is my guess at the scientific name. These actually grow in this moss. There's so many different kinds of moss and peat moss and lichens in the Arctic, but this is the one that makes the incredible, tiny, adorable flowers that just grow in these little mounds. Very neat to look at, very neat to touch, and just a beautiful bit of sunshine on the beach. Okay, this is a huge one. This is Labrador tea, specifically marsh Labrador tea, which has thinner sort of spines, if you will, than other kinds of Labrador tea you might find further south. They smell very piney, or they're sometimes called Arctic rosemary, but it's really more of a piney smell. They are a rhododendron relative, and I found a couple different scientific names for them actually in my 2 books. Their Inuktitut name is Kliutukbite, and it is beloved by Inuit as a tea, especially in the fall when they've started to dry out a bit. It's just so much fun to go on the land, bring an old teapot, build a heather fire, and just put some fresh tea into a pot. It's got this just wonderful herbal tea smell to it. Now, I will say that this is technically a blood thinner, so you don't want to drink it like a lot, like no more than a cup a day. But for us, it's kind of a fall treat. And I do like to harvest this to send down south to some friends who enjoy it. And they have these wonderful snowball flowers in the summer before they die back, and the tea is ready to harvest in the fall.
This prickly saxifrage is another saxifrage type, this time with these little distinctive red dots on their tiny petals. They're called prickly saxifrage because of their base plant, which is much more visible in the fall after the flowers die back. And they look like these tiny little succulents that turn the most wonderful fall colors.
Their Inuktitut name, or at least one of them, is Kakilaunat, and their scientific name is Saxifraga tricuspidata. I'll spare just a moment for chickweed, which has the much more evocative scientific name, or at least genus name, of Stellaria, and you can see why they're called that, as they have very star-shaped petal shapes. These tend to grow between rocks and in sandy or roadside places. And of course, I have to mention dwarf fireweed. If you come away from Nunavut knowing only one Inuktitut flower name, it's probably going to be paungait, singular paungak. Scientific name Camerion latifolium. These are just so iconic. They just mean Nunavut to me. They take over the flower landscape around mid-July, which is right now as I'm recording this. They're absolutely everywhere. You can use the flowers to make jam, which is just so much fun. It's just like pink sugar jelly, which is great. They're just, we do get the big tall fireweed here as well that you mostly see further west, but these are much more ubiquitous and delightful to always see everywhere in the summer. I had to take a pause and take a closer look at these extremely fuzzy, aggressive-looking flowers. After a bit of searching, I figured out that these are alpine Arctic fleabane, or at least some kind of fleabane flower. They start out as these sort of fuzzy, spiky, dark red things, and then they sort of morph over, the center blooms out, and it looks much more daisy-like, as you see here in this example. Their Inuktitut name is Nunavut, and their scientific name is Erigeon humilis. This flower is in the lupine family, or is it lupin? I'm never sure how to pronounce that. But its common name is licorice root. These have a relatively short blooming period, usually when we're out of town, so I always get really excited when I find these little lupin relatives growing on the side of the road. For our last flower, but not our last plant, this is, we believe, the elegant paintbrush, or Castileja elegans. We are sure that they are in the Indian paintbrush family, and I've actually seen these down south as well. They're just fuzzy and very proud the way they stand up against the wind. This might surprise you, but there are many different kinds of ferns that grow in the Arctic, and they all seem to cross over where we live in the central area of Nunavut. Our best guess is that this one is the fragrant shield fern, or Dryopteris fragrans. It grows pretty tall, so we think we're right. It's just delightful to see something that feels so tropical in the Arctic for a little bit.
These white puffballs are Arctic cotton, or Areophorum, and in Inuktitut they are Pualungwat. These grow in Eastern Asia and North America. They grow on the tundra, and they can actually light a kulek, which is a traditional Inuk lamp. These are really soft, and that's them.
Like Jade said, these Arctic cotton can be a wick for the huluk, which is the traditional Inuit lamp. We'll have to do another video sometime showing how those are used. But these, we see them most growing in boggy places, and they dry really well, so you can pick some and dry them and have a bouquet all year.
Thanks so much for joining us for this exploration of some of our favorite flowers. We have really only scraped the surface. There are so many more big and small flowers that come up over the spring and summer here. So maybe there will be a part 2, I don't know, we'll see. The resources that we used for this episode are, this is the Arctic Guide by Sharon Chester. This is a much more recent book. It's really thick. It's got stuff from all over the Arctic, the whole circumpolar region. It's mostly animals, but it's got plenty of plant stuff in the last quarter or so of the book. And we found this one to be pretty exhaustive. And it's got little maps so that you can kind of narrow things down by what region you're in. If you're not sure which species, you're like, well, okay, this is the only one that grows in my area. So this one is really beautiful. The other one that we used is this one, a little bit older. This is Common Plants of Nunavut by Carolyn Mallory and Susan Aiken. This one is really neat because it has, if you flip it over, it's got Inuktitut on the other side, and it's got a lot of Inuktitut names for things. This is really just plants, and it focuses in on Nunavut, which is really nice. Some of the identifications are a little bit different, so when in doubt, I tended to go with this book because it is more focused in on Nunavut. So these are mostly available in Canada, but if you, this one I've only ever found in Canada, but this one I know you can get on Amazon. So yeah, if there's some clarifications that you're curious about, or if you are, you know, some kind of wildlife expert, that is what we were working from. These are just field guides for us, and it was a bit of a science project. So again, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.